Yeah, like as Chris mentioned, there was an unfortunate injury during the game. Happened to one of the more prominent players of the week, North Carolina Central quarterback Davius Richard. He was injured on the first drive of the game. He went in for a rushing touchdown on a quarterback keeper, and he broke his ankle. Currently, reports say he's going to be out for 4 to 6. What is it, Jared? 4 to 6 weeks
4 to 6
or
apparent.
months.
So the report has not been corroborated, but it is being reported by HBCU Premier Sports that he dislocated his ankle and he's expected to be out 4 to 6 months. I'm not sure where they got that information from. I'd love to get in contact with them and see who their source is on that. But they're saying that he dislocated his ankle and is going to apparently going to be out 4 to 6 months.
Yeah, he had to be carted off the field. He had an air cast around his leg. I'm gonna show you what happened to him. It's not gruesome at all. Um, the hit he took was very a normal football hit. He just like got his leg caught on the turf, and he ended up dislocating his ankle. So let me do this. We're gonna do this live. We're doing this live, folks. So I'm gonna share my screen live. So okay, so here's the play in question.
Rush, left, touchdown.
As y'all can see, like Richard like took the snap and went to his left and got hit by like two defenders. And you see his leg just caught up underneath him, and that's when the injury happened. And it was unfortunate loss because a lot of scouts were at the Legacy Bowl, at the HBCU Combine to see him specifically at quarterback. And from all accounts, he had done pretty well, not only during that game with that particular drive, but just throughout the whole week. Like the throws he made, he measured pretty well, he tested pretty well. So this event was kind of like his like cementing himself as the top black college football prospect coming into the upcoming draft in April. It's unfortunate that he won't be able to part of the in any more workouts. If the injury is as severe as it's being reported, it's definitely going to compromise his ability to get drafted, maybe sign a free agent contract. So yeah, he was the best prospect in black college football, and it's unfortunate he got injured. And there's been a lot of debate whether or not he should even been playing in the game. For my money, like he didn't have anything to prove. He played in the Hula Bowl previous to the Legacy Bowl. Um, he obviously there's a lot of tape out on him. He performed very well for North Carolina Central, leading that program to a championship, setting all kinds of school and conference records. So scouts pretty much knew who he was and knew his talent, and really didn't have to rely on a bowl game for him to be out there. See him a little bit more. Like at these events, like a lot of players who may be getting drafted will skip them because of the risk of injury. You see guys like Marvin Harrison Jr., like James Daniels, like Caleb Williams, not even going to let them go perform at the NFL Combine coming up this week because they got too much to lose. Not only if they get injured, but they don't perform well either. So, fellas, you think Richard should have played in this game, and if so, why or why not? Starting with Jared.
I'll say that I think it should have been up to him whether or not he should have played. I don't think that this is a thing of, you know, should he have played or not. I think it's something that was up to him. And if he was good with playing, then I don't think it should be a problem. If you're asking me, if it was up to me, I probably would have had him play because if you watch that drive, it was everything you wanted to see from him. He threw the ball very well. He commanded the offense in the huddle very well. He took the ball from under center very well. And the only thing I disagree with, and we'll get into, the reaction to the play, but I completely disagree with the play call. I do not agree with the play call whatsoever. I don't know what. Look, all due respect to the coaches on the sidelines who were, coaching Team Gaither, but I'm not going to be as vulgar as Davius Richard's head coach. Spoiler alert, we're going to talk about that. But I completely disagree with that play call. The only reason Davius Richard should have been running in any situation is to avoid the pass rush. And if he was going to scramble, it should have been to throw the ball away, and that's it. There should not have been any design run plays for any quarterback, especially Davius Richard. But if I were him, I would have played, and especially I would have had him play because I hate to say it like this, but the quarterback play outside of Davius Richard was very subpar. If you think that him winning the offensive MVP in that game was a sympathy vote, it was not. Davius Richard was the star of that game by far in that one drive, and it wasn't even close. Jeremy Musa was not very good, and I wish we would have been able to talk about the Deacon, him being a co-winner of the Deacon Jones Trophy. I would love to talk about that as well, but Jeremy Musa was not very good. Aeneas Dennis didn't get much of an opportunity and didn't take advantage of the opportunities he was given as well. Jerron Russell, who I was very excited to watch, he unfortunately didn't do enough in that game. There was a lot of passes that if the defensive backs had good hands would have been interceptions, but they ended up being pass breakups because defensive backs just kept dropping interceptions, like gifted interceptions. And Davius Richard was literally the only quarterback in that game that had somewhat of a good performance. So that's another reason why I would have had him play. But outside of that one play call, I absolutely would have had him play in that. Would have been fine with him playing in that game.
So Chris, your thoughts on this, man? Jarrett saying he would have played. You think so too?
I think honestly, and this goes back to my earlier point about not trusting the powers that be in these NFL scouting rooms and all of that. He probably had to play. I mean, yes, he played in the Hula Bowl. Yes, he has 4 years worth of tape. And you think for anyone else that would be enough. But for Davius Richard in North Carolina College for the Colored, as their birth name was, it wasn't going to be enough. So he had to, at least show that, one more time that everything that everyone that said about him, like he was as good as advertised, and it cost him. It cost him dearly. And as Jarrett said, yeah, looking back on it, there's no way you have a young man with that much on the line running bootlegs or keepers in any respect,
especially at the goal line.
Yeah, not at the goal line either. I mean, because you already know what's coming. I mean, it's not like, it's 3rd and 1 from like the 35-yard line where he can find an outside lane and then just, walk into the end zone. This is right up on the goal line. So you already know that you got 11 guys coming at you. So, yeah, the play call was terrible, and he probably had to play, but it's just a very unfortunate circumstance. And we understand that his coach was not very happy about it. And boy, oh boy, was he not happy about that.
Yeah, the coach in question is North Carolina Central head coach Trey Oliver. He took to social media, Twitter specifically, and vented about his quarterback being hurt in that game. And here is what he said. If it can load. There it is. Can we say this on the air? I don't care. I'll say it anyway. In response to the injury, he said, "I promise Davius would not have played if I knew those dumbass coaches were going to run him. He should have never left the pocket. You want him to run, hand it off to those All-American backs. Make it make sense." So Trey Oliver, never to be shy about speaking his mind, was not very shy about Davius Richard's injury. Fellas, is he right not about the coach being, dumb or anything, but just about just about the thought process of risking a player to score a touchdown from inside the 5-yard line. Start with Chris.
Well, I mean, it's certainly not a dean's list magna cum laude decision to have him run that close to the goal line. So, I mean, yes, the language is a little coarse, it's a little harsh, but it's not completely wrong. So, I mean, Coach Oliver, and this once again, it's time for another episode of Back in My Day with Chris Stevens. When I first became a journalist, when I started working for the Hornet newspaper, Delaware State in 2002, there was a defensive backs coach who literally carried himself as if he were the head coach at Delaware State University. And that was Trey Oliver. Coach Oliver has been this person for over 20 years. He's not going to change. He shouldn't change. And he's not wrong here. I mean, he obviously watched the young man that he mentored for the last 4 or 5 years, suffer what could be a life-altering injury. I mean, not like from a quality of life perspective, but from a football perspective, because ain't going to be too many teams taking flyers on quarterbacks with dislocated ankles and waiting for him for a year, because that's pretty much what it's going to be for Davius. If this is true, again, we don't know the exact reports to be true, but, I mean, whatever the case is, I don't think Coach Oliver was wrong in expressing his displeasure. I mean, people will take offense to the language, but he wasn't wrong. And it's just very disappointing to happen to a young man like Davius, who's by all accounts, a salt to the earth young man, great person, great quarterback, smart kid, and we just hope that he bounces back, because this was not the way the story was supposed to go. Kendrick, you on mute?
Look, I read it.
I'm on mute again. I'm on mute again.
Don't worry about it. I know. I saw you toss it to me. It's cool.
I'm 0 for 2, man. I'm sorry about that.
It's all good. I already said I didn't agree with the play call. I especially don't agree with it on the goal line. That's what baffles me the most. Like, if he would have, as Chris said, I think Chris said it earlier, if he would have drew up a design run and they're on the 50 and you have room for him to be able to create a lane to get out of bounds, that's one thing. You're on the goal line. There's not too much room for error for him. The only options he has are north and south. So there's nothing he can do in that situation. So that's what baffles me the most, is that why they drew that up on the goal line. That is, I don't want to look, I don't want to be as vulgar as them, but that was not a very wise call, if you ask me. I wholeheartedly agree with Trey Oliver on that. Not with the language, but with the premise.
Yeah, like me too. Like, I don't think, like, because the goal line is like one of the most violent areas of the field. Because like you said, Jarrett, like all 11 defenders are going to come at the line of scrimmage, going to attack the line of scrimmage. They know it's going to be a running play, more like a knock down there running area. And while Davius Richard is a big, strong guy, you don't want to risk your quarterback in an all-star game. I know, and plus, like, this injury is going to cost him money and income. That's the thing that, like, aside from the fact of him being injured and not being able to get drafted, he probably won't make any money because of this. But as a result of it, like, y'all think like this will like discourage players from like playing in Legacy Bowl down the road or going to the combine because like they don't want to end up like him? No, Jarrett?
I think for a lot of guys, they have no choice. A lot of guys aren't getting Senior Bowl invites. A lot of guys aren't getting East-West Shrine Bowl invites, Hula Bowl invites. So they have no choice but to participate and play in the HBCU Legacy Bowl, because that's their only way to get film with them playing against the best of the best in HBCU football, because they already penalize us because, and when I say us, I mean, the HBCUs as a whole, because they don't look at the CIAA as playing against top competition. They don't look at SIAC players as top competition, MEAC or SWAC. They don't look at those as top competition. So they penalize us from that standpoint. So unless you're a guy like Joshua Williams, who has God-given length and great size to be able to cover big receivers, unless you're Emmanuel Wilson, who is a big body back who has the speed to match it, unless you're a guy like Javon Hargrave, who is a guy with size, who is agile and can move offensive linemen, or James Houston, who is unnaturally flexible and is able to pass rush off the edge or play at the linebacker position. You're not going to get opportunities like that. So there's a lot of guys who have no choice but to. Now, going forward, there's going to be a couple of top guys that, may not, who are going to get those invites that may choose not to participate. I can't think of many off the top of my head right now as I'm thinking about it, but I think a lot of guys have no choice but to. But I definitely think that coaches are going to advise them, about how to, take advantage of the process and be more safer about, their experience. But as far as should they play, I think a lot of them have no choice but to.
Chris, if you were one of the top guys coming out of Black College, you got the invite, would you suit up and play in the game?
Well, I mean, this is Chris Stevens, obviously. I mean, I'm not Davius Richard. I'm not any of these other young men because, quite honestly, I've never known that level of athletic success. I played maybe 5 minutes my senior year of high school football. So if you're looking for someone here who has real live athletic experience, don't look too far. But, to put myself in their shoes, I mean, there's an element of pride, in coming from an HBCU. So, yeah, I would have given it a shot. But, you have to live with the consequences or the unfortunate, situation that may arise from something like that. So I would have, but I don't begrudge any young man that doesn't, because as we saw just now with Davius, it doesn't always end well.
Yeah, and I played exactly no minutes of football in my entire career, as evidenced by my physical appearance. I wouldn't have played in the game as a 170-something pound guy, but yeah, like I think now with like the player empowerment movement, and I know like Black college football players don't have the same leverage as some of the FBS guys do in terms of like controlling whether or not they go to these events, but you have to take the risk in consideration though. Like it's football. Like as much as you want to say, well, Davius Richard probably shouldn't have been running down the goal line. He could have got hurt if he scrambled out of the pocket in the middle of the field. He could have got hurt if he got sacked on the play. That stuff kind of happens. It's football. Like it's hard to make football kind of safe, but I guess we're talking about is not taking unnecessary risk. And I think at that particular time, just based on the circumstances, that probably was unnecessary risk for the coaching staff to put him in. And so, like, we'll see how he comes out in the end. We hope he heals up nice and is able to continue his football career. But it was a sad sight to see him being carted off the field and having the big air cast on his leg. And like, he ain't going to be playing football for a long time.